Welcome to the Deployed Podcast, where strategy, ideas, and capital come to life.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us for another episode of Deployed. And today I'm super excited for our guests. And before we get into that, I just want to introduce myself, Michael Kearse. I'm a real estate investor and fund operator. And over the last several years, I've worked with several self-directed IRA investors and custodians to help retirement capital get deployed into alternative assets, particularly real estate-backed lending and ways that prioritize compliance, clarity, long-term outcomes. On Deployed, my goal is simple: to educate investors on how self-directed IRAs actually work, highlight best practices, and bring visibility to custodians and professionals who make this whole ecosystem function. Today, I'm joined by Adam Bergman. He's actually a founder of IRA Financial. How you doing today, Adam?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super excited, man. This is awesome. So can you just give us a quick overview of your background and what led you into the self-directed IRAs?
Yeah, it's a very interesting story. You know, everything in life, I guess, happens for a reason. So I was a tax lawyer in New York City, an 8th-year associate working at really big, large law firms. I have a law degree. I have a master's in tax law. I've worked on a lot of very sophisticated, cool type transactions. I never, ever heard of a self-directed IRA. So I was asked to do research for a client of the firm that was a hedge fund investor. And this individual wanted to use his IRA to invest in a hedge fund. And I remember being asked to do the research by the partner I worked with. And at that point, this is 2008, we actually had a library in the law firm I worked at. Crazy, I know. So I remember going and doing the research, and like right away, I found out that yes, you're allowed to do alternative assets in a retirement account. And I remember just being totally blown away. I had no idea. I remember asking the partner I was working with, and he's like, yeah, I heard about this industry. I didn't know much about it, but I guess it's legal. And at that point, I started asking around. None of my friends ever heard of this, none of my colleagues. And I actually had an investment at that time that I wanted to do, a real estate deal with my buddies. I didn't have a lot of money. I was a lawyer at that point, just starting off. And I had some money in a former employer rollover. So I actually used a competitor company that it's still around now to open up a self-directed IRA to kind of see how the whole process worked. And because I wanted to do real estate, and it was a great opportunity. And I learned a lot about the space, the industry, some of the problems, some of the good stuff. And at that point, I quit my job as a lawyer and started IRA Financial in 2010. Fast forward 16 years, we now have almost 28,000 accounts, almost $8 billion in assets. And it's the best decision of my life.
Wow. That is one of the awesome stories. You're like the poster child for self-directed IRAs. I love it. What surprised you most when you entered the industry?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I think the biggest thing was just really how much you can do. Like initially as a tax lawyer, you're just very focused on rules and regulations. And I remember looking at the tax code and just realizing there's only 3 things you can't do. That's it. You just can't buy life insurance. You can't buy collectibles like artwork. And thirdly, you just can't do anything that directly or indirectly personally benefits you, your lineal descendants, your parents, your children, your spouse, daughter-in-law, son-in-law, or any entities 50% or more controlled by such persons. So otherwise you can do it. And that really surprised me. I thought it would be a lot more restrictive and a lot more focused on regulation and more difficult to navigate. And the other thing was that these companies were so slow in getting things done. Like I remember my real estate deal, it took me like 10 days to open the account. It was like 14 days to fund it. The whole real estate deal took me like 30 days to complete. And I was like, that is crazy. And I think there's a lot of opportunity with technology. iPhones were starting and the whole world was changing. And that's when I said, I think there's a real opportunity here to allow people to unlock their money, invest in real estate or other alternatives quickly, easily, cost effectively. We have flat fees, which I think is super important. We don't charge any asset under custody or management fees. So as your investments go up, which they will, we're charging the same fee, which is very, very important to me.
I love it. Spoken like a true founder. So what role does your firm play in the space?
Right. So we have I think a very unique space. And obviously I'm not objective. I think we do it the best. Not only are we a regulated trust company, so we're going to custody, we're going to record keep, we're going to administer and handle all IRS reporting vis-a-vis your self-directed IRA investment. We also have a in-house tax firm. So unlike our competitors, we're also going to be able to follow your LLC, your partnership agreement, your corporate partnership return, your corporate return. We're going to be able to do any 1099s, 5498s, If you have a 401k, 5,500. You have 1099s. If you have UBIT, unrelated business income tax, which I can explain, we would file the 990T report. So we do consulting, tax filing, tax reporting. So it's a really one-stop tax firm. So we're not just doing the custody work and saying, you know what, sorry, Jane, sorry, Joe, go hire a lawyer or a CPA to handle everything. We're handling everything. We do it all for you. We'll set up the LLC. We'll set up even a trust. We'll set up and handle your tax filing and tax reporting. So you don't have to worry about anything from an IRS or administrative standpoint. And you can do what you do best, which is invest.
I love it. I love it. And yeah, and give me your background. That's awesome that you offer those services and value as well. From your perspective, what do most investors misunderstand about what custodians actually do?
I think the biggest misconception is a lot of investors think that these custodians or administrators are going to actually provide them any type of like tax service, tax advice, tax filing, reporting services. So they end up wanting to do an investment. They approach a custodian, and then when the custodian says, sorry, we can't provide you that information, they don't know where to turn and they just kind of wing it. And I've seen over the years, over 16 years, I've seen a lot of clients get in trouble because they're either in the wrong structure because the custodian just says, oh, you want to open a self-directed IRA to buy real estate? Okay, great. But if they asked, hey, you're going to use leverage? Well, maybe you should do a 401k because I can exempt you from any leverage tax known as UBIT. Or, hey, you want to buy a business? Don't do a self-directed IRA. I can put you in something called a rollover business startup. Or, hey, you're doing this with a traditional IRA. Have you thought about converting? Like, this is the consultation we do with all our clients to make sure they're in the right structure, they're investing tax efficiently, and they're maximizing their tax benefits. And this is all included in our one low flat fee price, which to me as a tax lawyer is paramount and crucial.
I love it. I love it. And at a high level, what types of assets can be held in the self-directed IRA?
Right. So the beauty of this is how broad it is, Michael. So other than life insurance, collectibles, and any self-dealing, you could do it. So anywhere from residential, commercial, U.S., foreign real estate, investment funds, private equity, hedge funds, gold, Bitcoin, hard money loans, tax liens, deeds, cryptos, right? Anything that's not life insurance, collectibles, or self-dealing, you could do it. So in 16 years, I've seen, some crazy outlandish investments, talking about, real estate in Zimbabwe. I've done real estate deals in Lebanon, Iraqi dinars. I've seen it all. I've seen hundreds and hundreds of thousands of investments. Not all of them work out, right? And that's the whole point of self-directed is you have to take control. You have freedom. We're unlocking your money. IRA Financial, we're not pushing investments, right? That's something that's very important. This is a truly self-directed industry. So you are in control. You're empowered to make your own investment decisions. IRA Financial is here to support you, be your partner, give you tax support, advice, administration, record keeping, but you're free. So yeah, there are investments that you need to be diligent. You need to understand the rules. And that's why you want to work with good managers, advisors, promoters that can put you in the right investments.
I love it. I love it. And what are some of the most common mistakes that you see investors make when they're
right. It's again, another great question. I think the first one is not working with the right, again, not objective, but the truth, because I've seen it. And even if you don't work with IRA Financial, there's a lot of other good companies in the space. And that's the truth. So work with the right custodian. Make sure you're getting good initial consultation. You're not just, signing up with someone and just saying, open a self-directed IRA. Make sure you're maximizing your tax benefits. So that's number one, getting in the right structure, right? Going back to my example, if you want to use leverage to buy real estate, it has to be a non-recourse loan, but you're better off using a 401k or a solo 401k than an IRA because you'll get around the UBIT tax. Okay. So that's number one. Number two is making sure you're working with someone that's going to give you flat fees. A major problem in retirement investing, it's not just self-directed IRAs, it's all retirement investing, is leakage on fees. Okay. So if you're paying 1% on your money, each year you're losing that 1%. And as your account grows, you're going to be leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table over a 20 or 30-year period. So make sure you're working with someone that's not charging you assets under custody fee. And in the self-directed IRA world, Michael, that's not fair, right? Because you're making the investment. I'm not. It's one thing if I worked at, Goldman Sachs and I said, hey, or Morgan Stanley, and I said, hey, you should buy this. And I charge 1%. That's fair because I'm giving you investment advice. But in the self-directed IRA world, you're coming to me with the deal. So why should I charge you for your wisdom? That doesn't seem fair to me. So those are the two big things. And then thirdly, obviously, like any investment you do, do your diligence, understand the economics of the deal, right? How are you going to make money on this? What are the risks, rewards? Does it make sense to do? I mean, now with AI, there's no excuse, right? You can put a lot of the financial projections, the data into AI for free, and it give you at least a semblance of like, hey, this is when you can expect to get your payment back, or these are the risks, these are the upsides, downsides, to make everyone more strategic.
I love it. I love it. I love it. How about compliance? Are there any issues that you see investors run into more often than not?
Unfortunately, working with the wrong folks. Compliance is super easy in the self-directed IRA world. We've been doing this 16 years. Never had a client, audited for an alternative asset investment. We have audits for our IRAs and 401ks, which we handle. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. But any particular investment, I've never had a client audited as a prohibited transaction. Why? Because we go through the process with our clients. We help them navigate the rules, and we basically vet their investment to make sure it's not prohibited. Now, obviously, we can't tell them, I wish we could, if they're going to be successful, but we at least can say, hey, this is problematic, don't do this, or structure it that way. But honestly, Michael, for most investors, it's not very complex, this stuff. That's why the fees are low. Like, our fees are less than $500 a year. Flat. Like, we're not talking about a lot of money here. So let's take a common investment, a hard money loan, right? So it's a very simple investment, right? You give someone $50K, they're promising you 12% return. Obviously, you have to understand, is it secured, unsecured? Who is it lending to? The promoter's track record. Can you trust a person? But they're not complex stuff. And that's the good thing here. You're not building a rocket ship. You're basically investing in an investment structure. We're going to help you navigate that. And then it's up to you to make sure the reward outweighs the risk.
I love it. I love it. And based on your experience, why do self-directed IRAs tend to align well with like passive investments, like private lending?
Yeah. I'll back up on this. So like the word self-directed IRA, you're not going to find in the tax code, right? So when IRAs were created in 1974, Congress did not distinguish between an IRA that bought stocks and an IRA that bought real estate. Right? They basically said, again, there's three things you can't do: the life insurance, collectibles, self-dealing. Otherwise, you can do it. So when I say self-directed, I think self-directed IRAs are the future. I think anyone is just putting their money in the S&P 500 or cash accounts, savings accounts, and going to let it sit there for 5, 10, 15, 20 years will be left behind. Okay? You have to invest in assets like real estate or in loans and in investments that are going to beat the market. Because if not, with inflation, your returns are going to get eaten up. And if you don't trust me, that's fine. Trust me, this is how rich people invest. It's not just people that are self-directed investors. This is how the richest investors, the family offices, endowments, sovereign funds, they don't put all their money in the stock market. In fact, probably 30% are in equities. They have 50 to 70% in alternative assets from real estate, private funds, hard money loans, credit funds, gold, cryptos, because that's how you generate the alpha and that's how you're going to grow. So any investor, whether you want to be passive or active, you need to have a taste of alternative assets to boost your retirement savings, your wealth structure, or not, you will be left behind.
I love it. I love it. Advocate it. Screaming from the rooftops.
Yeah, it's true.
And then from a custodian's perspective, what characteristics make a lending deal easier to administer?
Really, the organization, I think the structure of the party or the firm or the person putting the deal together. For us, it's very simple. Like, we'll allow our clients to invest through a hard money structure in two ways. You can do it directly through the IRA, which would require the custodian to kind of complete some of the paperwork, whether it's loan doc, promissory notes, and the like, or through an LLC. Like I'm one of the, I guess, fathers of the Self-Directed IRA LLC. I've written 2 books on it. I've been doing checkbook control for the last 16 years when people told me you shouldn't do it. And I knew as a tax lawyer, you could. And they just didn't know how to do it. So if you do it through the LLC, you'll have more speed. You'll control the investment. You won't have to go through IRA Financial. You, as the manager of the LLC through a local bank account, can make the investment in the note. And then obviously you can see the cash flow coming to the bank account. You also have privacy, limited liability protection. So there's 2 ways to do it. Either way works. They're not very complex at all. Hard money loans, investing in notes is one of the easiest types of structures and easiest investments to administer. Buying real estate is much more difficult, right? Because there's purchase agreements, there could be a mortgage, there's closing documentation and closing procedures, a lot more complicated than just investing in a note or a credit fund.
Got it. How do long-term income deferred and maturity-based investments often fit into retirement capital better than like active projects?
They're married to them, because if you look at a retirement investor like me, so the beauty of investing in an IRA or 401k is you get to be long-term, right? You get to be like a Yale endowment, Harvard endowment, a family office, the family office of Warren Buffett or Bill Gates or Michael Jordan, right? They don't need money today. So they get to look at where the money is going to be in the next 10, 15, 20 years. The same with your IRA or 401k. You can't touch the money today or tomorrow. This is for the next 10, 15, 20 years. It's for your future, your family. So you can be strategic. You could be long-term. You could make sure you're taking advantage of illiquidity premium. What is that? What's illiquidity premium? That means you should get higher returns for assets that are not liquid, right? So if you buy Tesla stock, or if you put your money in a treasury note, you're liquid, right? You can buy and sell at any moment. And that's great. And you should have some money in those assets. But if you put your money in a credit fund, investment fund, real estate, private note, you're not as liquid, but you're going to get higher returns, right? That's why you're getting those high returns, because you're taking that illiquidity risk. So if you do it in a retirement account, it meshes so well because you can't touch the money anyways. So you might as well get paid for your patience. Whereas for my personal money, hey, I have a mortgage, right? I got to make car payments, credit card payments. I got to, pay for my wife and my kids. I need cash. So I have to make investments that will give me cash flow. In my retirement, I can't use that money anyways. That's for the next 10 plus years. So I might as well get a stronger return and get alpha and juice for those funds. And that's why alternative assets, if it doesn't make up 50% of your IRA or 401k, you're going to be left behind, and you're not investing strategically, and you're not investing the way rich people invest.
Yeah, I like that barometer you use, at least 50%. What documentation or structure do you typically like to see when a self-directed IRA investor is lending into real estate?
So listen, as a lawyer, I'm going to talk to you as a lawyer. Obviously, I would love it secured, right? If I'm lending money to a real estate developer or someone who has land, I'd love to tie the note to some lien, some security in the underlying asset. I'd like a personal guarantee if I could, depending on this person is. I'd like some preference on my return. And again, there's no right or wrong way of structuring an investment, right? I've seen notes where there's pref on return, there's secured, unsecured, it's convertible into equity. Like, that's the beauty of investing. There's no right or wrong. It's very flexible. It's based off like what you want. So for example, I'm looking to do an investment right now in my IRA in some type of business. Now, I want to structure it as a preferred equity investment because I want some money back, and I'll take less common or less equity down the road because I'm trying to really help this company out short term that needs the financing. And I'm not as worried about the upside down the road, where my partner believes in the company, doesn't need the liquidity now. And it's like, I will take more common down the road. I will take my preferred schedule and I'll extend it out longer. So that's the beauty of investing. It's really what you want, what your interests are, what your reward versus risk profile is. And then you get to structure your deal. Right. So that's why not every investment works well for an investor or for a retirement account. And that's why it's important that you look at the deal, look at where you're at, where your liquidity is, where your goals are, your risk reward profile, and then make that decision.
I love it. I love it. How do custodians typically work with operators or sponsors in the space?
We're here to support. We're agnostic. We're neutral. We're not making money on the deal. No promoters paying me $1. I want my clients to have as much money as possible, and I want all the promoters to make as much money as possible. That's the beauty. And that's why I always say it's not a zero-sum game. I want all my clients to be tax-free millionaires. I want all my partners to be rich and be successful and have all their investments work out. It doesn't always work out, right? Not every investment works out. It's just the way it works, unfortunately. But the beauty of my industry, why I love what I do, is I don't have the risk of loss because I'm not pushing or pumping investments. If you're working with a custodian that's pumping investments, that's a big red light to me. You should not have any custodian pump investments. They should be working with different parties to introduce investment structures and strategies, but they should not be saying, hey, invest with fund X or fund Y or fund Z. That's a conflict and it's probably unethical. All we should be doing is saying, hey, this is what you can do with your IRA, just like you're doing, Michael. These are the rules. These are the tax benefits. These are your options. This is what you can think about. This is what smart strategic investors are doing. It's up to you to make your decision. Here is a selection of things you can do, but we're not taking a penny from what you do, right? I will not take a penny. If someone invests in any investment that IRA Financial is somewhat indirectly associated with, I'm not a cent richer. Okay. I want both parties to succeed. My goal is to help people unlock their retirement money. I get a flat fee and get more people diversified.
I like it. I like it. And is there anything that separates operators that are easier to work with than others?
Oh yeah, 100%. So like tech, right? You need to be able to get things done quick. For example, like we'll open your account same day. You should be able to fund your investment, within under 10 days. So you should be asking those questions. Like how quick can I open the account? How fast can you fund it? Can you guarantee it? Flat fees. How are you notifying me? Do I have to keep calling you? Can I call you? Do you have a phone number? Do I have to only send a chat? Or you should be able to communicate with the company you're working with. You're moving a lot of money, right? If you have an account at Morgan Stanley or with an RIA, you should be able to call that person, right? This is not investing $5. So phones are important to us, right? Like we want people calling. We're not saying don't call us, right? Only text us. Like you want to communicate. You're investing a lot of money. You need to trust the company. You have to trust the procedures, the process. So you want to make sure that this is something that, again, you're working with people that you know that have the experience, the expertise. They're going to make it as easy as possible, as quick as possible, and as low cost as possible.
Yeah. And does that go hand in hand, those things that you shared, open communication, being able to pick up a phone, having the technology to move faster? Does that go hand in hand when you're working with the actual operator that's bringing the deal with your client?
Yeah, I think it's a combination, right? In the perfect relationship, right? We have different approaches, right? There are some investment structures where the investment promoters, like, I want to control everything. My clients are super passive. They don't want to be involved. They're busy people. They just want me to handle it. That's fine. So long as the client signs off on that, no problem. There's other promoters that say, no, I want my clients to be involved. They need to sign every document. They need to be copied on every email. That's also fine. We will work with whatever the promoter, the investment manager, and the client wants. We're here to serve, right? We're a service business. We're here to serve the investor, the investment manager, and make it as easy as possible.
I love it. I love it. Where can people learn more about IRA Financial?
Yeah, it's simple. You can go to irafinancial.com. You can check us out on YouTube. We post multiple videos a week. Just trying to educate. My big thing, I've written 9 books. I'm on my 10th book right now, which is actually going to be focused on, and should be released hopefully in September, on the power of alts, right? Like the whole concept of the old 60-40 portfolio is that we were always told that, hey, 60% of your money should be in stocks, 40% in fixed income like bonds. And that's outdated, okay? The real 60-40, the way rich people, family offices, sovereign funds, endowments are investing is actually 60% alts, 40% equity fixed income. That's the future. And whoever's stuck in that old 60-40 model, the 40% is going to die because it's not keeping up with inflation. And your 60% is not diversified because essentially the S&P 500 is 7 companies. So if there's an AI crash, a tech bubble burst, we're all in trouble. So you need to be diversified. You need to be generating income and returns in different sources.
I love that you said the S&P 500 is basically 7 companies. That's funny. For someone sitting on retirement capital who wants more control, but also wants to stay compliant, what advice would you leave for them?
Yeah, number one, this is about what you want to do, right? If you're home and you're like, hey, I just want to put my money in the bank. Hey, we're in America. You can do whatever you want. God bless you. Will you not maximize your returns? Yes. Will you probably lose your money because of inflation? Yes, but that's your call. I can't stop you. So this is about deciding what you want for your life in the future and your family. If you want to be interested and learn about real estate or learn about how to get 10 or 12% from hard money loans or how to invest in the next great American AI company, all that's now available. You just have to kind of look for it, open your eyes, stretch your ears out. Like those opportunities are there. And now with AI, whether you use, Gemini, Claude, AI, like OpenAI, these are a lot of them free sources. You can put in a lot of the financial metrics. You don't have to be an MBA from Harvard or even have a college degree anymore. And it's going to tell you, hey, these are the risks of this deal. This is how this deal works. These are the red flags. These are the green lights. Like you can become a really smart investor on your own now.
Yeah. Adam, this was amazing. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I truly, truly appreciate it. For those of you who are watching the live or watching the replay, if this episode was helpful, please share it with someone who has retirement capital and wants to understand the options beyond the stock market. If you want to learn more about the Self-Directed IRA and how it can be used for passive real estate-backed lending, check the resources in the description. Thanks again for listening to Deployed. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.
And
You've been watching the Deployed podcast, where we deploy insight, capital, and growth.